Hey guys, Sue's here. Welcome back to another What's for Dinner on Keto, easy keto meal prep recipe video. We make these every single Sunday to give you some keto meal ideas for the week. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and join the crew. Let's get into the video. I wanna catch the wave. So first up this week, we made this awesome ham casserole with cauliflower rice and broccoli. I did change the measurement some on this, but pretty much followed the instructions and ingredients. This is a recipe from That Low Carb Life. I will link it down below. So to start with, I added 2 1/4 cups of steamed cauliflower rice to a bowl, along with a 16-ounce bag of steamed broccoli. To that, I added 2 cups of diced ham. This is just chopped up leftover ham that I had baked this past week. I also grated a block of extra sharp cheddar cheese, and I added 2.5 cups to this. Over in a separate dish, I'm going to add 2 eggs along with some dry seasonings. It's easier to just mix them together before putting them into the bowl of casserole mix. So I did a teaspoon garlic powder, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of mustard powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And just whisking it all together so that when I add it to the casserole mix, it just lets those seasons be fully incorporated evenly throughout. Before I added it, I went ahead and took a big spoon and kind of tried to mix this up a little bit. I almost grabbed the big bowl this time, but any of you that watch me regularly know I often get a bowl that's just too small for my needs. There's no happy medium. I'm always too small or overwhelmingly large. So then I just pour the egg mixture over my casserole blend and go ahead and mix that up as well as I can. I did already preheat my oven to 350 degrees, so I'm just grabbing a 9x13 casserole dish and just dumping out this mix in there and kind of evening it out. I'm going to top this with about a 1/2 cup of extra sharp cheddar cheese, and then I just popped it into the oven uncovered for 30 minutes. This is what it looks like when it came out, and this is what it looks like all plated up. This was one of my husband's favorite recipes for the week, and definitely a great one to store away, especially with the holidays. And you know, a lot of people are cooking ham and you need something to use the leftovers for. Next up, we have this awesome Mexican Zucchini and Beef. This was one of my favorites of the week. It is a bit spicy. You could adjust the seasonings if you want. I did base this in a recipe from Low Carb Yum. It will be linked down below. So I used 2 pounds of ground beef and added it to a pot. After I broke it up, I added a heaping teaspoon of minced garlic, and then I added a teaspoon salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. And after I got that all browned, I added a can of rotel, which is just tomatoes and chilies. And then I added a seasoning blend of a tablespoon chili powder, a teaspoon cumin, and 1/2 teaspoon onion powder, and 1/4 teaspoon crushed red pepper flakes, and mixed that all up and let it simmer for a bit. Then I added my zucchini. I just used 2 medium zucchini here and chopped and quartered them. And you're just going to keep cooking this until your zucchini gets to the texture that you would like. So I did put a lid on it to help that process out. Here it is all cooked up, and here it is all plated up. I loved this just as is. My husband found it a little spicy, so for the leftovers we did add sour cream and cheese, and it is great that way as well. Next up, I made this awesome keto jalapeno popper pizza from All Day I Dream About Food. I followed her recipe to a T, and I also used her adaptation of fathead dough to make the crust. So to do that, I took 5 tablespoons butter and 1.5 cups of mozzarella cheese over low heat, melted them together. To that, I added a 1/2 cup almond flour, 1/4 cup coconut flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon garlic powder, and 1/4 teaspoon salt. And I'm just using a silicone spoon to kind of knead those dry ingredients in to the cheese mixture some before I add 1 large egg. I did take it off the heat before I added the egg. And now I'm just going to mix that as well as I can. before I turn this dough out onto a piece of parchment. I did put a little almond flour on my parchment paper before I put the dough on. And then I just kneaded it for a few minutes until it was all kind of uniform and patted it out into a disc shape. And I am going to get my rolling pin. I've been inspired recently by Nana Grace. Go check her channel out if you haven't already, to take better care of my rolling pins. But I put another piece of parchment over that and just rolled this out to about a 12-inch diameter. I do like my pizza more of a thin, crisp crust. So I did try to get the middle of this rolled out a little thinner. And afterwards, I just removed the top piece of parchment. I do have my oven already preheated to 350. And I'm just going to roll up the edges of this dough all the way around to form a crust and slide it onto a cookie sheet. And I went ahead and baked this for 15 minutes. After it came out of the oven, I took about 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, and I'm just going to spread that evenly onto the crust. I'm topping that with about a cup of mozzarella cheese and a half a cup of sharp cheddar cheese. And then I fried up some bacon, and I took about 4 pieces of it and crumbled it. And I'm just sprinkling that all over the pizza. And then I am using jarred jalapenos. You could slice your own, but I don't really have time for that. And I don't want the jalapenos on my fingers. So then I just topped it with those and popped it back in the oven for 15 minutes. And here it is all done. And here it is all plated up. This was super duper good. I think the next time I make it, I might add some chicken or some salami to it as well. For our final meal of the week, we made this awesome chicken carbonara. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So to start with, I fried up some bacon, took a tablespoon of bacon grease, put it into a big saucepan, and I just diced up 2 pounds of chicken. Added some dry seasoning to that, a half a teaspoon garlic powder, and about a half a teaspoon salt, 1/4 teaspoon pepper, approximately. And I just cooked my chicken until it was nice and cooked all the way through and moved it to a separate pot. And then I added half a cup of onion to the pot. And I did add a little bit of that juice from the chicken back in just to help saute those onions. After I cooked those for a few minutes, I added 2 teaspoons of minced garlic and cooked that like another 30 seconds until it was really fragrant. And to that, I added a cup of heavy cream and just kept whisking, and a cup of chicken broth. And then I just kept whisking this together until it was pretty hot. And over in a separate dish, I have 1 egg that I have actually already beaten, and I just used a ladle to take some of that hot sauce mixture, and I'm going to stream it really slowly to temper this egg before I add it in. I'm going to whisk, 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 and then I'm going to repeat this over and over again until I have really just tempered this egg all the way so that I can add it to the sauce without ending up with fried or scrambled eggs in my sauce. You want it to remain a liquid. So I think I did this about 3 times. I kind of skipped some of that for you guys. And then I poured the whole mixture into my sauce. And also continued to whisk that in really well. Then I added 1/3 cup Parmesan cheese, just your regular cheap grated one, and mixed that in really well. Added about a tablespoon of rough chopped fresh basil, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. I just use a pre-blended Italian seasoning blend. And I just kept cooking this up. It's getting a little thicker as we go. I crumbled 6 slices of cooked bacon and tossed those in there. Make sure I get every last piece of bacon out of the bowl. And then I'm adding 3 cups of baby spinach. And I'm just kind of going to poke that down in the sauce mixture and let it cook until the spinach gets wilted enough that I can mix it all around. I did drain the excess juice out of this chicken before I added it back in. So I just added it back in with just a tiny bit of the broth left in it. I'm gonna switch to a spoon here and go ahead and mix that all up. I did continue to just simmer this on low to medium for like another 10 to 15 minutes probably. And here it is all plated up. This was so good. It is based on a recipe by Joy Filled Eats. I will link it down below. So yummy. So there you go, guys. That is it. Those are our keto recipes for the week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. It means so much to us when you like and comment on our videos, as it helps us out so much with getting our videos seen by other people that are trying to do the keto diet and live in a keto lifestyle. Until next time, bye guys.
We're the revolution. There is no left or right. I'm the revolution.